Welcome to Eugene Cannabis TV. You made the trip. We're down here at the studios behind the Sheldon High School, around the corner from the KRVM studios. And we're working in the studios of the Community Television 29. So we'll talk a bit more about that later, but right now I want to tell you to put down that bong and pick up a piece of paper, pencil and a piece of paper, because I got some information and I want you to need to write it down and spread the word, because we're in some real turbulent times right now with our legalization initiative. It passed by a wide margin, but we have a lot of it. We're not out of the woods yet, so it's going to take some more work. So we'll be talking about that a little bit later. The upcoming events, the main thing I want to talk about is the Oregon Liquor Control Commission has announced the statewide schedule of marijuana listening sessions to hear from communities around the state as the agency implements Oregon's recreational marijuana law. They've had 4 of them so far. The third one was Monday, last February 2nd, and they had 200 people turned out for that one. The one in Eugene was on February 3rd. There was 450 people there. And I was, of course, at that one, and it was a good time. We met some good people, and we just hope that the Oregon Liquor Control Commission is actually listening. You know, they're calling it a listening session, so I'm a little skeptical whether they're listening, but time will tell, I guess. So anyway, the next one coming up is in Medford. That's on February 18th. We're running through these quickly because they are out of our area, out of our area. But Klamath Falls, February 19th. Bend on February 19th, Beaverton on February 26th, Clackamas on February 27th, and Newport on March 11th. So if any of those, if you have friends or family in those towns, you need to alert them, see if you can get them down there. We need a large turnout, because the more people that show up, it shows our strength and it shows the interest, and the less chance that they're going to mess with our law. So it's really important. And if you didn't get those dates, I don't want to run through them again right now, but you can send me an email at dankbagman@hotmail.com, and I'll send that info to you. So the first couple stories here I've got are out of state. Now I like to bring in out of state stories at times because they can affect us, or you get an idea of what's maybe coming for us. Well, this is a case of this is good. Going to be coming for us, and I'll explain. This was on the normal news of the day. I received an email list, and it's titled, New Mexico, Oppose Unscientific Per Se Standards for Cannabis. House lawmakers have reintroduced legislation, House Bill 120, to impose per se criminal penalties to individuals who drive with trace amounts of THC in their blood, regardless of whether he or she is behaviorally impaired. NORML opposed the imposition of per se traffic safety legislation for cannabinoids because the presence of these compounds in blood are inappropriate and inconsistent indicators of psychomotor impairment. No less than the United States Traffic Highway Safety Commission, NHTSA, agrees, stating, it is difficult to establish a relationship between a person's THC blood or plasma concentration and performance impairing effects. It is inadvisable to try and predict effects based on blood THC concentrations alone. House Bill 120 is unscientific and disappropriate response to behavior that is already sufficiently addressed by present traffic safety laws, which criminally prohibit driving while impaired by drugs. The imposition and enforcement of this measure risks inappropriately convicting unimpaired subjects of traffic safety violations, including potentially those patients who have legally consumed cannabis in the privacy of their own home some days earlier. House makers defeated similar legislation last year. Please urge them to do so once again. So that's something that we have to be vigilant about all the time, and here's New Mexico. They're still working on it. So, and you'll see how this ties into this the next story. this is from the thinkprogress.org website, dated February 7th, written by Karama Towns. A study from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration concludes that driving after smoking marijuana does not make you more likely to get into a car crash, especially when compared to driving after alcohol consumption. Researchers studied 9,000 drivers over the past year to examine marijuana's impact on driving. Although 25% of marijuana users were more likely to be involved in a car crash than people who did not use the drug, gender, age, and race and ethnicity of marijuana users were considered. Demographic differences actually contributed substantially to crash risk. Young drivers had a higher risk rate than older ones, and men crashed more than women. On the other hand, drivers who consumed alcohol were significantly more likely to crash than those with a 0.08% breath alcohol level crashed 4 times more than sober drivers, and people with a 0.15% level were 12 times more likely to crash. In the study, testing positive for marijuana was defined as having delta-9 THC in your system. The number of legal drug users and illegal drug users involved in crashes were statistically insignificant. Nevertheless, marijuana users impact driver senses, the study warned, and the number of drivers with marijuana in their systems is on the rise. According to the Office of Impaired Driving and Occupational Protection Director Jeff Michael, drivers should never get behind the wheel impaired, and we know that marijuana impairs judgment, reaction times, and awareness. Media reports and anti-pot legalization advocates have hyped the idea that drugged driving would wreak havoc in the roads now that the states are beginning to legalize marijuana. In fact, highway fatalities have gone down since Colorado legalized marijuana. The NHTSA findings published Friday came in on the heels of another marijuana study conducted by Emory University. Researchers at the university concluded that people who smoked 1 joint a day did not have significantly impaired lung function when compared to non-smokers. When taken together, the reports are good news for pot fans. But additional research on the effects of marijuana is also invaluable to state lawmakers who are ironing out the logistics of legalization. Recreational use became legal in the Centennial State in January 1st, 2014, and cannabis fans are now even allowed to grow their own plants. Yet there are still numerous restrictions, such as the inability to smoke in public accommodations. To clarify the law and educate people on about how to use recreational pot responsibly, the state's health department recently launched the Good to Know campaign, a large-scale $5.7 million public education project. So anyway, that's how Colorado is handling it. Again, most everything that's coming out of the legalization of Colorado is good, including the fact that they're going to be giving a rebate to the taxpayers, because as it was written in the law, if it exceeded a certain rate, they would give it back, and it did, and they are. So that's good news, you know, and it's something kind of what we've been talking about all the time. So, and this is out of Berkeley. This is kind of interesting. This was from the SanFranciscoGate.com. It's a blog written by David Downs, dated February 9th this year. Feds lose in court against Berkeley marijuana dispensary. Major Berkeley medical cannabis dispensary, Berkeley Patients Group, notched another win against federal authorities in court Friday when a federal judge sided with the city of Berkeley in its efforts to keep the dispensary open. The dispensary will now remain open until the courts decide whether the city of Berkeley has the legal standing to defend the club in court against federal prosecutors. In May 2013, United States Attorney Melinda Haag moved to seize the state's oldest, most respected legal cannabis dispensary as part of a broad crackdown on state legal cannabis businesses. But the property owner and the city of Berkeley sued to block the forfeiture. The city argues that it would suffer irreparable harm if the case were allowed to proceed to conclusion without city participation. In the fall, a judge dismissed Berkeley's claim, saying it had no standing in the case, but Berkeley appealed and sought a stay of forfeiture pending the outcome of the appeal. During Friday's hearing, prosecutors argued against the stay in favor of seizing BPG, but Judge John S. Tiger rejected prosecution's arguments, writing that higher courts could still rule the city of Berkeley has standing and that district courts could recognize the public interest reflected in a properly enacted local ordinance. All the key factors in the case support a stay, Judge Tiger wrote, and Berkeley's motion to stay is granted. The case will remain on hold until the Ninth Circuit decides whether Berkeley has standing. BPG's leadership does not understand why U.S. Attorney Haig is defying orders from the White House, as well as congressional law mandating she do something more useful with her time and resources. We're still surprised, given the recent change in the climate surrounding medical cannabis in California, that the attorney is being relentless in her fight, said Victor Pinho for BGP. We are emboldened by this. We are emboldened by this judgment, and we affirm our commitment to our patients and reaffirm our commitment to fighting the good cause of making sure everyone who needs access has proper access. We are hopeful that Congress will act quickly to resolve the split between state and federal marijuana laws by passing bills like Congresswoman Lee's proposed H.R. 262, said Tom Schick, Berkeley Patients Group's executive director, referencing the state's Medical Marijuana Property Rights Protection Act introduced on January 9th. In the meantime, he added, we will look forward to continuing to serve our local patient population. BPG was founded in 1999 and became an international model for safe access to medical cannabis. The city of Berkeley celebrated BPG Day in 2009 and again in 2014. Mrs. Haig said she was using her discretion to seize BPG because it was too close to a preschool. Mayor Tom Bates disputes that claim. So anyway, the fight goes on, and you can see that all over the United States, again, the fight goes on. So anyway, I just want to get you on the speed of that. So we got the Hemp Fest coming up, and don't forget, that's in July. That's the third weekend in July. That's the 17th, 18th, and 19th of July at Maury Jacobs Park. It's free to the public. We're looking for volunteers, vendors, sponsors, and we're working on this year's event, and it's going to be good and it's going to be fun. So definitely we'll be announcing meetings coming up and that kind of thing, so stay tuned and heads up. So in the meantime, we're going to take a break here, and we'll be right back with the second half of Eugene Cannabis TV.
Do you suffer from fear of losing your election? Are you terrified that voters will discover you've done nothing to improve their lives? Maybe it's time you talk to your spin doctor about Incarcerex. In clinical trials, Incarcerex has been shown effective at reducing election-related anxieties by making voters think you're doing something about the drug problem. It's simplistic and fast-acting. If your problems continue or get worse, you can always double or triple your dose of Incarcerex. Whether it's addiction, therapeutic use, or just casual use, there's an Incarcerex plan for every American. Best of all, taxpayers, not you, will foot the bill. So talk to your spin doctor about Incarcerex today. Common side effects include loss of civil liberties, police corruption, racial injustice, increased terrorism, spread of HIV and AIDS, and violent crime. Bloated prisons are also a common side effect. Stop taking Incarcerex if bloating lasts longer than 20 years. If you're trying to balance the budget, keep families together, or protect human rights, Incarcerex may not be right for you. Do not mix Incarcerex with the Constitution or common sense. So start taking Incarcerex and keep pretending you're doing something about the drug problem.
Welcome back to the second half of Eugene Cannabis TV, the episode 563, and we're back with some more stories. These three are out of our own state of Oregon, and I wanted to tell you about the, this is kind of exciting, and by the way, you won't be hearing this kind of news from any other sources, so that's why I kind of pride ourselves on the stories that we do here and the stuff we talk about. This is written by Johnny Green. It's at theweedblog.com, and this is dated February 4th. The title is New Approach in Oregon Launches New Effort to Defend the Marijuana Legalization Law. The successful campaign to legalize marijuana has launched a new effort to defend Oregon's marijuana law from those who are trying to undermine the measure. We want a marijuana policy that reflects the will of the people, said Anthony Johnson, chief petitioner for Measure 91. Instead of making major changes, the state first needs to get the basics of implementation right, like childproofing, labeling, testing, packaging, auditing, inspecting, taxing, licensing, and background checks. In places like Colorado, marijuana retail sales began before comprehensive rules for edibles and packaging were completed and in place, contributing to difficulties in implementing the new marijuana law. We don't want to see that happen in Oregon, said Lee Maurer, who led the Moms for Yes on 91 group. New Approach Oregon will now work as a watchdog for the new marijuana law. From time to time, we will let you know what you can do to make sure we finish the job and get Measure 91 implemented effectively. We will update you on what is happening with implementation and alert you about threats to Measure 91. Well, I'd like to insert there I certainly hope that's the case. It remains to be seen. Most of the last two actual legalization campaigns are what I've been calling them stealth campaigns. They don't communicate with anybody. They just keep moving forward and doing their thing, and nobody knows what's going on except they're gathering signatures, that kind of thing. So it's been kind of quiet, it seemed like, what's coming out of Salem, what's going on up there, but I am starting to get some feedback and things are happening. So again, stay tuned. But this was, it's good to hear from New Approach Oregon, the group that actually got the initiative on the ballot. And the people behind this are, again, Lee Maurer, which we just quoted from. She was Moms for Yes in 91. We have Richard Harris, the former Director of Addictions and Mental Health Services for the state of Oregon. And, of course, Anthony Johnson is the chief petitioner. David Fidelke, the Executive Director of the ACLU of Oregon. And although two previous attempts to legalize marijuana had failed, Oregon voters in 2014 passed Measure 91 by a 12-point margin during a non-presidential election, winning in 14 counties in the state with 847,865 yes votes, 145,710 petition signatures, more than 52,000 Facebook fans, 50,000 people on its email list, hundreds of donors, thousands of volunteers, and endorsements from 15 newspaper editorial boards. But there are some people who would like to take marijuana policy in a direction that's different from what the Oregonians voted for. Among the proposals that have already been introduced or advocated are to repeal key parts of Measure 91, change key parts of the medical marijuana system, establish a tax that would benefit criminals, allow a small group of politicians to unilaterally decide whether their community can opt out of a new Oregonians overwhelmingly supported of a law Oregonians overwhelmingly supported. Hobble the entire statewide implementation process so that it is harder to win sensible marijuana policies in other states. New Approach Oregon does not represent any industry group, any special interest group, or any ideology. We represent the moderate middle, advocates for the sensible marijuana policy that a strong majority of Oregonians voted for last November. We want a better approach to marijuana law. Now it's time to follow through by making sure that the better approach to marijuana gets implemented. So that's definitely good to hear. And again, Anthony Johnson is a good guy, and I do support him. So we'll stay tuned, because we'll be letting you know on what's happening as a law is implemented and as the fight continues, and it will. So here's the problem. This is in the Register Guard, written by Chelsea Gorel on February 7th, titled "Pot in the Park Ruffles Residents." Subtitle: Marijuana smokers have drawn police to Washburn Park near the U of O 57 times in the past month. The neighbors near Washburn Park in the University of Oregon area are fed up with many people, mostly U of O students, who use the park as a place to smoke pot in broad daylight, says one Columbia River resident participating in a task force to stop the illegal activity. Eugene police have gone to the park 57 times in the past month for people smoking marijuana, police said. 33 of those visits were initiated by police. Since January 1st, police at the park have issued a number of citations for possessing marijuana and violating park rules. Like the vast majority, 19 going to U of O students, police spokesman Melinda McCullough said city park rules prohibit any illegal activities. McCullough said the recreational smoking is a major issue for the neighborhood. Lori Swanson Gruboski, a former Eugene City Councilor who lives across the street from the park, has helped form a group of 6 people representing neighbors, university, and city staff and law enforcement. We're neighbors, the university and the city coming together in partnership to solve a problem. And I think it's pretty cool, Swanson Gruboski said. We're hoping to nip it in the bud, no pun intended, to keep our neighborhood safe and keep it in a family-friendly park. Family-friendly park. Swanson Gruboski said the pot smoking occurs mostly between 2:30 p.m. and 6 p.m. and is disruptive to the neighborhood of young families, retired people, and professionals. A neighbor with 2 elementary school students first brought up the issue because she had felt unsafe allowing her children near the park while people with bongs and hookahs were smoking in the open. Other neighbors reported feeling unsafe and uncomfortable with the clusters of pot smokers. Students gravitate toward the park because it is illegal to smoke pot on the University of Oregon campus, she added. Well, you know, of course, you just move one problem, you have a problem, and all you do is moving the problem. So, but anyway, Karen Hyatt, the university's director of neighborhood relations, who is also on the task force, said that even when recreational marijuana use becomes legal in the state on July 1st, it will remain prohibited on campus because the university receives federal funds and therefore must follow all federal laws. Ballot Measure 91, passed by voters last November, makes some recreational use of marijuana legal in Oregon. The federal government still classifies pot as an illegal drug. Even under Measure 91, smoking in a city park will remain illegal, said Scott Milovic, the city's park operations manager. The city park rules include bans on drinking alcohol, on camping, and on use of fireworks or firearms. Violators can face a fine of up to $500 and up to 30 days in jail. We have received complaints about that, people smoking marijuana in the park, but that is something that the Parks Department doesn't have an enforcement authority, Milovich said. Smoking marijuana is illegal, so we would refer that to EPD for enforcement. The new task force first gathered January 19th to brainstorm how to address the pot smoking. More than a dozen people were present and brought a lot of ideas before the 6-person task force was formally put together. Neighbors are encouraged to call the Eugene Police non-emergency line with reports of illegal activity in the park. The group of 6 began meeting on February 5th at Biskovsev's kitchen table and discussed more options, including public outreach and trimming the brush around the park to allow a better sightline into the park. We want to work with neighbors on issues that affect them and help the university to be a better neighbor, Hite said. We want to work with neighbors on issues and work to make sure our students know the laws on and off campus. So anyway, the problem with marijuana smokers, and that's going to get even worse, I think, as the law does go into effect, because people are going to be confused and think it's legal and don't realize or don't care about the privacy clause of the law. So it's going to be, I think, a battle going back and forth. And so anyway, and a real quick note here, the Oregon Medical Marijuana Business Conference returns to Eugene. Anyone familiar with, this is Anthony Johnson writing, anyone familiar with my political activism knows that civil liberties and social justice are my primary focus in the cannabis field. I want to end the arrest and prosecution of the cannabis community when we aren't hurting anyone else. I am proud to have helped lead 3 successful marijuana law reform measures, including having the honor of co-author and serve as co-petitioner of Measure 91 in Oregon. So anyway, the conference is coming March 15th and 16th. It'll be at the Hilton. You can again get more information on that, or just run a search on that. What they don't tell you in all this, I've got 2 pages all about the information of who's going to be there and what they're doing, but what they don't mention is, and I'll tell you, $299 admission. So a little steep, but I guess if you want to get into marijuana business, that's part of the price you pay. So thanks for being on the show, and be sure and come by next week, and literally come on by. We'll see you later.